Thank you, Rita. Let me share my screen. Okay. Okay, can you guys see my screen? Am I audible? Can you see me? Like everything okay?
Yes.
Okay, nice, amazing. Thank you so much. Cool. So welcome to the space, EVA Project Management, and yeah, we have a couple of people in here, and I think we can like do this session based on more like discussion based, and I think maybe we can share more experience with each other as well. I think that will be a really good space that we can use utilize this space in that way. That will be more effective. So which means that I want all of you to like be participative, like make sure that you are here and talk to each other, share your experience, and be proactive as well. So this is my expectation from the beginning. And so yeah, before start, I'm Isro. You already know me. So these are session objectives for today's space. So we have three key objectives that we're going to talk about today. One thing is like the understand the concept of project management. We'll be going through what project management is, what project management means, and I'll share a little bit of experience from my side as well. And next one is understand the process of project management for EWA. So like we try to connect this with EWA and see like how project management look like for EWA part. And the last part we'll talk about the understanding the role of project manager. So as a person like who's managing the project, what's going to be your responsibility, or like your people who are managing the project itself, their responsibility as well. So before we start, let's do a small activity. So brainstorm. Now imagine that you're planning best friend's birthday party. Okay, so you have your friend and you have the responsibility of planning this birthday party. Okay, the only condition, she wants her 99 best friends in there, and you have to plan this in a financial sustainable way. Without using your dad's credit card or your family, you cannot pay for it. You need to get creative on how will you pay for everything, and it's going to happen in 4 weeks. So what we're going to do, I think we have, let's see how many people we have in here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so we are going to break into two groups. I think 2 and 3. Then I'm going to give you 5 minutes of time. You can talk to each other and you can come up with an idea like what are things that you're going to do in the birthday party, and what are how are you going to overcome this challenge from your side. Okay. Yota, can you send open two breakout rooms?
Yes. Yeah, guys. In 3, 2, 1, the breakout room is open, so you guys can start joining. We'll see you guys after 5 minutes.
So I think there are three things that I noticed very evidently. One, yeah, as Emmy mentioned, that team forming, it was very essential to have a team that was really interested in the project, because they are essentially the one executing it. So their interest and their intent matters a lot. And two was to have a proper timeline and, kind of engage your stakeholders, have or do all the prep. Even though there'll of course be a lot of speed breakers in the way of your project development.
Kaiva, I think we lost you.
Am I stuck?
Yeah,
I think I'm
now we can hear you. You're talking about the timeline and project development.
have a smooth flowing process.
Okay, nice, amazing. Thank you, Kaiva. So like we have eco sharing. I think something can happen. out of our expectation, even we had good preparation. Yes, makes sense. MU sharing, planning, and performing, makes sense. Nirmani, Mehdi, you want to share? Julie?
I think I have the same like how to say the same key finding like Eco from Indonesia. Yeah, like even though we have good preparation, but sometimes the thing can happen out of our expectation. So we need to set the expectation for the team at the beginning, like anything can happen like that. So we need to really agile and really collaborative to move each other.
Thank you, Julie. Nirvani sharing transition process from Sri Lanka to India. Yes, that's another milestone. Mehdi, you want to add something? Oh, it's very nice. Okay, Nirvani, you can go.
Sorry, my connection is bad. In terms of key milestones, like obviously what the others said in terms of team forming and everything, and also following back on the key milestones to see if they were achieved. And also maybe in the transition process, there are very critical milestones.
Thank you, Nirmani. Mehdi, you here? Eco, you can go actually.
Yeah, I think I just want to add another things because for now, like we're trying to talking about project management. I think based on your story, it's about how we actually can prepare for the worst scenario. Let's say even if we cannot execute the project, and then project management is something that all the people need to be really very agile in terms of how creating many things in a very fast process.
Thank you, Eco. Yes, Mehdi, sharing that. No worries, Mehdi. It's fine. Yeah, I think. Oh, it's very nice that we have this. We can all share. Cool. Okay, so talking to the project manager, I think all of you identify the key milestones, key changes that happen in the project progress. I think this is, yes, I agree with all of you what you're saying in terms of timeline, in terms of process, in terms of risk management, in terms of resource allocation and all these things. So I'm gonna put this into more structured manner and a structured format so that you will be able to take it forward. So talking about project management, of course, like project is like activity that has beginning and end. So this is a key thing that you need to understand. Like project is not a ongoing process. Like example, like we have S&D. Like S&D is like in products that we have is ongoing process. That is not a project. Like these things are operations. So project is like it has a definite start, it has a definite end. So you also need to stick to a timeline, you stick to like different roles, responsibilities are allocated for different people. And it contains multiple steps and performs something new or unique. Project will often involve multiple resources, cost, and require detailed tracking. So this is like more of a rough idea about the project, but major thing that you need to understand is that inside in your MC term, we will be able to have different projects. Like whatever even if you run like one EWA initiative or like a couple of EWA initiatives, if you're running EWA initiative, same initiative in different LCs or different areas of your entity, that's also can count as different projects. So this is also something you need to look into. So it will make it easier for you to break it down and allocate resources more effectively when you see it as something has definite start and definite end. And it has two parts, like we have outcomes and we have resources. So basically outcome has goals and milestones, and then resources has like time, people, and money. So these are the only things that we can invest on to the achieving the outcomes that we want to achieve, which are the goals and the milestones that we want to achieve. Typically, there are 4 stages of project management. If you studied project management, if you studied business administration or something like that in your university, like this is project management comes as one of the part inside the business administration. And I'm taking most of this content from like my curriculum as well. So this is, so there's 4 stage in the project management usually. First thing is the initiation, and then we have planning, and then we have execution, and then we have closing. So what we're going to do is we are going to go one by one, And we're going to talk about like what's inside of each of these stages, as well as what kind of tools and what kind of things that you can use in each of these stages. There are like different project management methods. So like this is one thing. Like there's something called 4D project management method. There's in the IT sector, people use waterfall or like lean project management method. So there are different project management methods that actually you can use. But basically, you need to understand is all of these has these 4 criteria. It has an initiation, it has a planning process, it has an execution process, as well as it has a closing process. So this is the main elements of the project management is going to look like. If I start with the initiation process, the project initiation phase is if you're appointed as a project manager, or right now you are in the EWA role, or right now maybe you are managing different role at the same time, maybe you are BD and EWA at the same time, or maybe you are managing. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, you will be responsible for making sure your function is achieving your success. How we're going to achieve success is by achieving the success of small projects that you're going to deliver, right? So in the initiation part of the project, this is very important, because things like we usually tend to ignore this part. We don't really put a lot of attention in this part, because we directly go into project management. We directly go like executing the project, directly getting into the getting the people on board, or like giving them responsibilities and all these things. But when we going down the line, after a couple of months or a couple of weeks, you realize, oh, something fundamentally is not being defined, not being clarified. Our roles are not being clarified. My objective is not clear. I really don't know what the metrics that I want to achieve. Like things like that. This is where project initiation should happen. I think you can use this one in your planning as well. When you go to your planning process, this is where maybe you spend some time into thinking, what are the projects that I want to run and what kind of objectives that I want to achieve from here. So main things that should focus on this phase of project management is defining the project objectives, defining the role of individuals, creating initial plan, and understanding the resource requirement. What kind of resources that we need to do, as well as initial plan in the sense of until the project planning is happened, like what are the things that need to be done. Example, I need to select a CCP or like OCP for EWA project. I need to select OCT. I need to make sure that there are budget allocation, the first draft of budget is passed, like things like this. So this comes under the initial plan. And defining role of individual. This is very important, because you as a EWA responsible in your entity, you might be the single person who's responsible in terms of decision making of the EWA project. But is it like that? Does your BD person has a say in your project? Does your MCP has a say in your project? Does your marketing VP have a say in your project? What kind of responsibility your CCP should have? What kind of things that they can do, you cannot do, or like you can do and they cannot do? So this conversation, it always comes up later if you haven't defined this later, if you haven't defined this in the first place. When you go later, like people will come and question like, oh, I thought you are doing this, I thought you are doing this. Like this miscommunication, like it's very common inside project management, because we have not clarified our roles. So this is very important for you to do in the first place. Yeah, the common pitfalls that we have seen is that lack of common understanding of project outcomes. Like example, your MCP thinks, oh, this is what's going to happen in this project, and you have very different idea, and your BDVP has a separate idea, and your LCS has another idea. So like then the expectation doesn't match, and when you execute it, the final outcome is like not satisfiable for like a lot of stakeholders. So that is another issue. A lack of clarity on roles, this we talk about, and overestimation or underestimation of required resources. So we usually say like we have worst case, best case, and most likely case of a project happening. When you see a project, or example, if you take a youth speak, like there will be a most likely case, and there will be a worst case, there will be a best case. So you always need to see like, if the best case happened, what is my resource allocation going to look like? Worst case, what is my resource allocation going to look like? What is my budget? How many people? And all these things. So this is an calculation, or this is an estimation you need to do in the beginning, so that you will have a better idea about the resources that you require. How many people I need? How many partners I need? How many MCVPs that I need to mobilize in order to get this done? Things like this. And other pitfall is like unrealistic timeline. We set too high expectation, oh, I want to release the booklet by tomorrow. Like if it takes a lot of time, then you allocate a lot of time then, because it's make more sense to deliver the project in a realistic timeline rather than like sticking yourself into a like unrealistic timeline. So these are common pitfalls that we have seen, and a couple of tools that you can actually use is that no. Yeah, first one is Gantt chart. I think like you probably have used this like million times in your Isaac life. Just put a timeline, just make sure everything is like very detailed. Like one thing about Gantt chart is like it depends on you how detailed that you're gonna go. You can just put like a couple of things and then make sure that, oh, you are trying to achieve that, but things inside that, there's a lot of other activities. So if you're not planning for these things, then at later part, then things will be, it's likely to be missing in the later part. So make sure that you are planning for this part and you put some thought into Gantt chart and the activities. You can use a mind map if you want to plan the event. It's successful for like different people use different methods. What I usually like to do is like sit down and like lay out some papers, pen and paper, and like keep drawing and keep writing, because it's easy for me to visualize things. It's easy for me to understand when things are visualized. And then it's even if you as MCVP, if you as EWA responsible, if you're entity and you think that this is going to be your long-term goal, like maybe you have like a corner for yourself in the MC office. Make sure that you have your own whiteboard, make sure you have your own project dashboard, things like that. So you always can see like how the projects are tracking, how the projects are in progress. So this will be easy for you to visualize, and this will be easy for you to understand how value in your projects. You can always use like, yeah, of course, like online platform, but sometimes like it's much effective to like use your hands and try to do something physically than like actually typing something. So yeah, this is another suggestion. So this is a project initiation process. So initiation is mostly about setting objectives, clarifying goals, making sure that what you want to achieve, and making sure that we have proper resource allocation. Cool. Next, moving forward to the planning process. Planning process, this is where you bring down people like, oh, now you have your CC team, now you, or like OC team, or your project team, and now you have, you know, like what other roles are different people are playing. Now you need to understand like like go in detail and plan for the event itself or plan for the project itself. So in here, you need to understand your stakeholders. You need to determine the scope and the timeline of your project, and finalize resource allocation and build accountability systems for your. These are like mainly like very key things, like very basics that we do. But when you go into the planning, like it's more complicated, of course. Like you need to plan for your team, you need to build your team, and then you need to make sure that you have proper accountability system among the team itself. And then you plan for you try to do risk management, risk mitigation, and you think about, there are different planning things that we can do. Of course, you can refer to the planning tools that you're using in the MC planning. Most of things can be reusable for your project management as well. The common pitfalls that we have seen is that failure to understand the expectation of the stakeholders. When I say stakeholders, these are like everyone who engaged, maybe your partners, your MC, your LCVPs, LCPs, or like your alumni, like it can be anyone. So you need to make sure that you are thinking about all these stakeholders who has interest over this project that you are doing. So sometimes when you do a particular project, there can be different parties who are involved and they are interested about your project. Lack of clarity and scope and timeline are too complicated accountability system. This is also something in terms of accountability system, especially if you have, if it is too complicated, if your team member is into like multiple team leaders, then that is too complicated. Like if that accountability system is not going to be like running smoothly, because there are a lot of people involved in this accountability system. So to make sure that things are very simple, like I report to this person report to me, and or like I report to the MC team or like MCP or something like that. You need to define this accountability system and make sure everyone agrees to it. There's a lot of tools you can use in this stage actually. Okay. Yeah, okay, not this one. Yeah, so a couple of tools that you can use. Again, you can use the Gantt chart for the timelines. You can do work breakdown structure, which is called WBS. Usually this is more about key items that you need to, key things that you need to deliver, and then you make sure that it's all being structured under different people or different structures. So this is actually helpful for you to understand like who are the responsible people for different work, and what are the things that are going to happen parallelly, what are the things that should happen continuous. Example, like I need to finish A in order to do B, or like I can do A and B together. So that is also something you need to realize. So then you can allocate time effectively for these things. You can use Google Sheets for the planning tools, and this is something you're already using. A stakeholder management metrics. If this is something that you are not familiar with, I recommend you to like search a little bit about it. This is a very good tool for you to understand your stakeholders, and this has a very simple 4 stages: keep satisfied, manage closely, keep informed, and monitor. So this is 4 basic actions that you can do in terms of managing these stakeholders in these 4 areas. I think this is a separate session if you want to talk about it, but I recommend you to actually look for it and do some online. RASI metrics, this is something you already use in the MC planning as well, in terms of managing the synergies and managing the accountabilities. Okay, I'm going to go a little bit, go to the next part. This is the execution. Execution part is mainly about, actually, this is about like, okay, now you plan it, now you have the idea, like what you want to do, and then it's all about achieving the project timeline. In here, only you will face a lot of issues with the team. You will face a lot of issues with the stakeholders, or there are a lot of other like challenges coming in, and a lot of mainly challenges and bottlenecks are going to come in this period of time. So this is the most part of the project management cycle, and you'll be spending a lot of time in this area. And in here, your role as a most of the project manager is like achieving the project timeline, stakeholder satisfaction, risk management, and maintaining the control over the project. And common pitfalls that we have seen is that inconsistent routines, like team is not meeting like regularly, the synergies are not happening, lack of accountability, like people are not accountable to each other as well as they're not accountable to their own responsibilities, and stakeholder management, like stakeholders are not being managed properly, and they start to create more challenges for you to execute the project. A couple of tools you can use: Asana, Trello. If you're familiar with any of these tools, go forward. There's a risk management tool. This is Isaac one. You can use this in the output. Like I make sure that there are all the links added, so you can go and like check it out. Slack for communication purposes, it's very easy. If you don't have Slack for NGO, like please make sure your MCP is applying for Slack for NGO. It's free, and all these Slack premium features are available for you in the Slack NGO. And yeah, so these are a couple of tools that you can actually use. And last part is of course the closing. Closing is like delivering, make sure that everything is like they've been delivered and you are being reported and everything is documented. So main focus in this area is like delivering all the tasks, reviewing and documentation, team closing, and closing the stakeholders. Common pitfalls that we have seen is like keeping loose ends. Example, there are like 1 or 2 small tasks that we have not done, and no one is like who's going to do this, and then it's by being hanging there, and like you close the project without actually finishing these tasks. Lack of documentation, fail to close the experience for the team, fail to meet the expectation of the stakeholder. Couple of tools, like this is a very effective thing, it's called punch list. If you have used this one, punch list is something like in the last part of the project, what you can do is as a project manager, list down everything that need to be done. Or small, even the small thing, or write this paragraph in this project report, write this, make sure that the budget is closed, make sure that the invoices are being collected, make sure that the logistics are being returned, or like everything, like all the small stuff that need to be there, make sure that you're putting them into punch list and allocate responsibilities. And then you'll be only tracking the punch list in the last stage of the event. So especially like in the event and you speak and all these things, something that we have seen is like we deliver the event, and after that you cannot find the OC team anymore. You cannot find the people that who deliver the project anymore, and the budget is not closed, and you wouldn't have the documents. So this is something you should already foresee, and you should already like start working for this even before the project come to an end. And then you can, yeah, of course, the project report, and these are things that you can use as tools. Amazing. So I went through these 4 parts. Like, it's not that complicated, but at the same time, there are small details and that we need to look into. So how does it look like in EVA? Like okay. Initiation will be like identify the project, define objectives, define goals, initial timeline, budget draft, HR map. And then we have the planning, team onboarding, project planning, stakeholder map, team routines, feedback and finalization. Then we have execution. Then we go for the executing the whole event, and then we close the experience together. So these are the key main 4 areas of the project management, and these are the key tools that you can be using. Of course, there are a lot of other tools that you can use. Maybe you're familiar with other tools. That's completely okay, and that's something that I want to add. Okay, cool. Is it clear so far, or is anything that you need to clarify? Anything that you like to add from your experience as project manager? Clear. Useful tool. Thank you. Nice. Okay, we have 10 more minutes. Okay. I'm going to go to the next part as well. This is also a little bit of content, but then I'm going to give you a little bit of reflection time with all the things that we have been going through. What is the role of the project manager? So when it comes to project manager, there are 2 types of project manager. The project manager is that person who's ultimately responsible to success for the failure of the project. It can be you, it can be your TL that you are voting for the particular project. And there are like accidental project managers. These people are like not the people that who choose to be in the position, but they were put into there, or by because they didn't have any other option, or like you choose person and you ask them, and can you do this, and they're like, okay, I'll do this, and they're not actually like very keen about it as well. So either way, like now the person is a project manager, right? So like the way you have responsibility to deliver, you have something that you need to be achieving for your entity. There are pros and cons of being a project manager. Like pros are like it gives you like a strong sense of accomplishment. Like it's easy for you to like see the project end, everything come to a closing, and everything is done. It's a dynamic work environment. Like every day will be different. Like there will be crashes happening, there will be like good things happening. So every day you will experience something different. Significant freedom to make decisions, an opportunity to drive changes across the organization. And the cons are mostly like required tolerance regarding ambiguity and uncertainty, because things are not going to be the same, and you really don't know what other obstacles that are going to come in your way. A lack of responsibilities but less authorities. Lot of responsibilities but less authority. You will have a lot of responsibility as a project manager, but you might not have a lot of authority in terms of example. You cannot say your MCP like, oh, you need to do this or you need to do that, or like this. There's some level of authority that you need to be following. You may feel disconnected with your experience. Like you might feel like, oh, this is something like very random, I'm not actually doing contributing something bigger. Maybe like people will see like, oh, you are not actually doing a good like enough job or something like that. But still, like it's a these are like cons that we can come as a project manager, and something that you need to be aware of as well, because your CCP or your RTL might also be feeling these kind of things. As a project manager, you need to develop set of skills. Like it can come under like 4 different areas. One thing is like personal skills. Like these are like that requires for you to for the project manager to make sure that you are managing people closely and you are getting the best out of the team. Like managing by example, positive attitude, define expectation, and considerate and be direct. Management skills, there's a lot of management skills that required for the project manager. Project planning, team management, negotiation, financial management, project execution, reporting, and all this. And then coping skills like flexibility, agility, being persistent and firm when necessary, being creative even when the project does not call for it, absorbing large volume of data from different multiple resources, because there will be different people, you will have to work with different people, and being able to handle large amount of continuous, often unrelated stress. And technical skills, this will depend on the project actually that you're managing. If it required for you to have specific understanding about particular program, or a specific understanding about the particular platform or a system. Like these are the technical skills that a project manager should be developing. So my question to you is like, how do you see yourself with these skills? Like I can go back to the previous slide. I'll give you a couple of minutes to reflect and go through the skills by yourself. Like these are like all, like this is like, it's not like etc, but like there's no etc. Like this is like mostly everything. I'll give you some time to like go through it, and then maybe you can evaluate based on 0 to 10, personal skills, coping skills, management skills, as well as technical skills. Uh, Let me go back to the slide. I'll give you some time to go through this and read this one. Let me know if you're done in the chat. Cool. So the last part that I want to ask from you is that these 3 questions. What are your key takeaways out of this session? And after going through all this content, I know this is a lot of content. It feels like a lecture. It feels like lecture to me as well. But I think it's very hard to teach project management because it's like going and just doing it and exploring by yourself. And if you have done project management before, if you have managed your project in the LC level or like in another area, it's very easy for you to relate to these things that I said, because you're going through an example in your head, right? And but maybe if I was able to add something to you, then I think that would be good. What are challenges that you face right now in terms of managing the projects, and what are your plans to address them if you have any ideas after the session? And what skills that you think you need to develop as a project manager, and anything that you want to maybe like any things that in your mind, that anything that you want to add or anything that you want to talk about, also you can talk about it as well. So I'll give you a couple of times, or if you want to share, I think we have less people, we have like 10 people in the room, so maybe we can share with each other. Maybe it will trigger some thoughts in other people as well.
Okay, I can go. Okay, so I think I saw this on one of the slides that if you fail to plan, you're planning to fail. And I think it's so relevant to the entire session that if we fail to follow any of the steps from initiation, planning, execution to closing, then we are essentially planning to fail in the entire project itself. We won't be able to do the best of what we have to offer. So I think that was my takeaway. What challenges you face? So I think for me personally, this is the first time I'm doing something like, BD and EWA. I'm from operations background, so this is all very new to me. So I think that's my major challenge. So I think how I'm planning to address it is, I think one, I'm taking a lot of notes, talking to as many people as I can, and understanding, exploring new tools, understanding GCPs from other entities. And I think that's really helping. In fact, the entire conference has been really helpful in terms of understanding how people create projects and execute them. What skills? I think for me, it's personally the entire planning aspect. I think I lack in the planning aspect itself. especially when it comes to having a realistic timeline, because when you come from operations, it's just like just go all out and do just get in those approvals. So I think that's something I'm looking forward to work towards. Thank you.
Thank you, Khalil, for sharing. My suggestion is like start small, like plan for like one event, like in a couple of months to deliver, and get your people around, because without doing it, it will be very hard for us to understand like where we need to improve and what kind of things that we need to do. So my suggestion is just do it. Just do one, and then you'll be able to see how it's gonna look like. Nice. Iko, you want to share?
Okay, yeah, thank you. So I think the main key takeaways that I gained from this session is about because you actually you giving some kind of like process of the project management, and I think all those things cannot be happen if we cannot accountable and also making sure that every single things executed by all the people, especially us as a project manager. And then for the next one, what are the challenges? I think the very first one is because I didn't apply for EWA. So I think it's really new environment for me to actually understand every single ideas and every principle that in this function have. So it would be the very first challenges that I think it would be happen. And the next one is about, since there will be a lot of initiative and also there will be a lot of project that would happen in Indonesia. I feel like the another challenge is managing a big of amount of people to the project is something that really hard, because Indonesia is quite having a lot of LCs, so I need to really delegating it every single LC. It needs to be perfect. And the last one is about build the trust to the LC, about the intention or about initiation that we have from the national and downscale it to the LC level. And then I think how I'm planning for address everything is really use all the tools that you actually deliver for us. I think it is really useful tools for us to actually can managing all the project. And then for the skill I want to develop as a project manager is because I am really practical person. I always want to execute that everything, and for somehow forget about like planning and also creating some kind of preparation. So I think it would be nice if I can actually developing my management skill, like as what you actually delivered before. So yeah, I think it's all.
Nice. Thank you so much, Iko. I think, Kate, we can go for like small sharing.
Hi, okay, so sorry I can't turn
Oh,
on my camera right now because I have class. But for my key takeaways, being project manager requires accountability, since the failure or success of the project really depends heavily on you. And it's not enough that you're good with technical skills, but you also have to have good intra and interpersonal skills, because you'll also be handling people. And of course, no man is an island, and it's essential for us to take care of our people just as much as we want to take care of the project. And for the challenges, same with kay Ravi, I actually come from an IGV background, so operations, but we really have to adjust because we can't do exchange as much now. I think another challenge for me is also performance management and reporting, because these are some of the skills that can be really important, especially when the projects are ongoing already and when everything's happening all at the same time. It can be really overwhelming. So being able to track and monitor all of the different progress, bottlenecks while the project is happening is also one of the things that I hope to be able to improve on as a project manager. And then as for the skills I want to develop, definitely related to my previous answer, which is reporting and transitioning to closing, because I think a lot of people, especially a lot of ISICers, it can really be exciting to plan at the start, and we all get excited and hyped for the start of the projects. But when it's already in the middle or when it gets tiring already, sometimes we lose our drive or motivation. So for me, one of the skills that I want to really invest on would be reporting and properly transitioning and closing these projects, so that we can be able to practice consistency and deliberate plans so that it doesn't just end mediocrely, but it also transition properly and downscale to the LCs as well, so that our successors can also have an easier time in managing the same projects if ever for EWA. So yeah, that's it for me. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Kate. Yeah, I think it's amazing. I think we have a lot of people who are exploring the function, as well as a lot of people people coming with different backgrounds and different profiles. I think, of course, like use this knowledge, accumulation of knowledge in your commission in order to get the best for your entity or for your function. So my last thing that I want to add is project management is a discipline. It's actually a role. It's actually something that happening, like it's a huge stream that there's a lot of content, there's a lot of ready materials, a lot of books written about it. So please go through and do your own learning, and mastering that will open up many doors for you in order to keep learning. Basically what I did was like one of the modules that I had for like MBA as well. So this is something that you will actually learn, and this is something that is going to actually be useful for you. And coming from practical experience, you will be able to master this skill like without no time. So that's it from my side. Thank you so much, guys. Please go back to the main room. I think we have partner keynote happening, and I'll see you soon.
Thank you, Su.